and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Today on Good Morning Maine, a Bangor man has been found guilty of sexually assaulting a child.
Plus, a government oversight committee is trying to find a solution to a drastic shortage of public defenders.
And residents of a Bangor neighborhood are demanding answers following the disappearance of more than a dozen cats. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us. We'll have all the day's news, including the latest on what's going on in that neighborhood. Cats are just disappearing one after another. Very concerning for local residents. But first, a check of the forecast. And looking like today will be kind of like yesterday. Not a terrible day at all. We'll see plenty of clouds, maybe some breaks of sun, and maybe a few showers. But the good news is it looks like the sunshine will return in time for a very summer-like weekend around here.
I know. The past few days, it's kind of felt like we're transitioning into fall, but we're not there yet. There's still plenty of summer days left. So
thank goodness. Yeah,
let's get a check of that forecast with meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Happy Thursday. We have some fog that's developing out there in a few areas this morning from new parts of Waterville to Augusta, also in the parts of Rockland this morning. Same with Bar Harbor and even in the parts of Washington County, reduced visibilities this morning. We'll be watching for the fog to clear up today as we will get some sunshine going before clouds and a few thunderstorms greet us during the afternoon period. So far this morning, we've had some clouds greeting us, some showers, even a rumble of thunder at times too across the northern parts of the state. So we've been watching for some of that. We'll catch a break for a good part of today, but later this afternoon, we're watching out for more showers and thunderstorms that will be developing as this area low pressure here slowly but surely tracks off towards the north and east. We'll start to get it out of here later on tonight, and then tomorrow, finally starting to look drier. Futurecast moving forward, a few showers and storms possible this afternoon, and showers early this evening, but low pressure finally moves out of here, and Friday looking like a dry day finally, right? But otherwise, the winds, well, they'll pick up a little bit today. Sustained winds at around 5 to 10 miles per hour, some higher gusts up to 20 miles per hour will also be possible today. So moving forward, though, again for today, lower 70s, partly cloudy with a few thunderstorms and a south wind at around 20 miles per hour. Later on tonight, some showers early, then clouds and fog possible overnight with lows in the lower 50s and a light and variable wind. As we move ahead towards tomorrow, middle 70s, partly cloudy, and the northwest breeze backing off to around 5 to 10 miles per hour. The hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing a partly cloudy sky for a while, then afternoon showers and storms possible with temperatures in the 70s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up.
Thank you, Devin. We'll get another look at that forecast a little later on. A Bangor man has been found guilty of sexually abusing a child. It took the jury about half an hour to reach a verdict Wednesday in the case against 48-year-old Aaron Robshaw. He was charged with sexually assaulting the child on multiple occasions between 2018 and 2019. The child was 9 when the incidents began. Penobscot County Assistant District Attorney Mark Rucci says he's happy with the verdict.
Our victim was incredibly brave and courageous to come forward and be willing to tell a group of strangers what happened to her. And without her testimony, we obviously would not have secured a conviction in this case.
The girl, who is now 16, told us she's happy to have the case behind her and is trying not to let it impact her in a negative way. A sentencing date has not yet been set.
Meanwhile, a Brewer man convicted of killing his 6-week-old son will not be getting a new trial. That's the decision handed down by Maine's highest court this week. According to court records, Ronald Harding caused his son Jaden's death by violently shaking him on Memorial Day back in 2021. A jury found Harding guilty of manslaughter, and he was sentenced to 15 years with all but 8 years suspended in September of last year. Harding appealed the conviction to the Maine Supreme Judicial Court in May, arguing that the state failed to present sufficient evidence to support the conviction. He also argued that the state made a prosecutorial error during closing arguments by commenting that a defense expert's opinion was based on cherry-picked information. Justices affirmed Harding's conviction on Tuesday, stating that the evidence to support that guilty verdict was more than sufficient.
Authorities have released the identity of a homicide victim in Waterville. A Maine State Police spokesperson says the medical examiner's office has identified him as 43-year-old Charles Bellows of Waterville. State police are continuing their investigation into his death after his body was discovered at a residence at 119 Cool Street. Still no word on a motive. 41-year-old Thomas Lowry of Waterville has been arrested and charged with murder in the case. He made his first court appearance on Monday.
A man from Hiram is facing charges after leading police on a wild chase yesterday. It all started when the Monmouth Police Department attempted to stop a vehicle that was possibly involved in a domestic incident. They say the female victim was in the vehicle and the suspect was driving. They say 32-year-old Zebby Thomas, the suspect, had 2 outstanding warrants and was also not allowed to have contact with the victim as part of his probation. The chase stretched on through several communities until police backed off because of safety concerns. Police later caught up with Thomas several hours later in Augusta, and he was arrested after a short police standoff. He was taken to jail, and the victim was not injured.
Maine's public defense attorney crisis was the topic of a government oversight committee meeting on Wednesday. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bichard spoke to the director of the organization responsible for Maine's public defense services about what needs to be done to solve the problem.
The Sixth Amendment is the foundation and the bedrock of a free and fair society.
Well, I think what has captured everybody's attention statewide is the number of cases that we have in the state right now without attorneys.
Appearing before the Maine Government Oversight Committee on Wednesday, Jim Billings, the director of the Maine Commission on Public Defense Services, says currently there are only 150 contracted attorneys statewide who have volunteered to accept cases, not enough to keep up with the current caseload.
834 criminal matters where there is no lawyer available, and they've been on a list circulated by the judicial branch and us usually three times a week.
Billings says they've seen some relief since setting up 3 public defender offices in Kennebec, Aroostook, and Penobscot/Piscataquis counties.
And we sized the offices so that the attorneys could cover roughly 30% of the adult criminal cases in all of the courts. They could service within an hour's drive of their offices.
Of the 3 offices, Kennebec is fully staffed, Aroostook has an acceptable level of initial staffing, and the Bangor office is struggling to find attorneys.
Well, we have been experiencing some challenges in Bangor getting the trial level attorneys. We've been very happy with the level of interest we've had in the heads of those offices, the district defender offices. We've re-advertised multiple times for Bangor for the trial attorney levels, and we continue to try and recruit. We have a separate recruiting committee that's been focused on trying to buttress the out-of-state recruitment on the student side, but they're now turning their attention to a trial attorney side to try and fill some of these positions that are coming online.
In Augusta, I'm Corey Bichard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
An organization of families affected by severe mental illnesses is calling out the commission that investigated the Lewiston mass shooting for not addressing Robert Card's mental health adequately. The National Shattering Silence Coalition spoke out Wednesday to address what they say are glaring issues missed by the commission in their final report, including the fact that no one followed up or put Card on a progressive treatment plan after he stopped taking his prescribed medication in August.
We agree with the attorneys representing the victims that it's time for accountability. We would add accountability from all branches of state government. The Commission report has not one word in it related to the Department of Health and Human Services Mental Health Division, who is charged with care for all private citizens in Maine.
Well, Nutting adds there needs to be more training and focus statewide on progressive treatment plans and how they can be used to help those in crisis who might not even know that they're sick.
Third-party candidate Dr. Cornel West will appear on Maine's election ballot in November. That decision made by Secretary of State Shanna Bellows after hearing 2 complaints that challenged whether Dr. West met the criteria to be on the ballot. In a statement released Wednesday, Bellows said in part, quote, "I therefore conclude that there are a sufficient number of valid signatures submitted by the campaign for Dr. West to appear on Maine's presidential ballot and otherwise reject the challenger's arguments for invalidating the petition," end quote.
Northern Light Health is now the first healthcare system in Maine to eliminate the use of an anesthetic gas that has been proven to produce high carbon emissions. Desflurane is a widely used gas for general anesthesia in surgery and has been regularly used in Northern Light operating rooms for decades. According to healthcare experts with Northern Light, it is the most polluting of their anesthesia gases. and this issue has come to the forefront over the past several years, with more attention being paid to the impacts on the environment made by the healthcare industry.
I think it's really important for patients to know that their care, does not change. The high, safety, level of safety and quality of the care that they're being provided remains the same. The only thing that changes is that we're hopefully working to improve the health of the community by reducing our carbon footprint.
Well, according to Dr. Smith, the initial goal was to reduce the use of the gas to around 50% by the end of this year. But as of August 1st, it has been removed from all hospitals across the entire healthcare system. It will be replaced with 2 other gases that medical experts say are just as safe and effective and have a much smaller environmental impact.
All right, the time now is 8:10. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, following Monday's spill of firefighter foam containing PFAS, crews have been working every day to clean it from the nearby area.
We'll have the latest on that situation in Brunswick, but first, another check of your forecast. Today, we can expect some scattered showers this afternoon with highs near 74 degrees. Isolated showers overnight, lows dropping down to the low 50s. Tomorrow, a beautiful, mostly sunny day on the way with highs near 76. We'll be right back.
Back again, huh? You must love losing.
You're buying the next one.
You gotta win one first.
Okay.
Get 2 of your McDonald's favorites like the McDouble or McChicken for $3.99 or mix and match. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
You can feel it when your dream becomes a pursuit. And with vitiligo, the pursuit for your pigment is no exception. It's time you had a proven choice to help restore what's yours. Opzelura is the first and only FDA-approved prescription treatment for non-segmental vitiligo. Proven to help repigment skin over time, restoring what's yours. It's possible with a steroid-free cream that you can apply yourself.
Opzelura can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB or hepatitis B or C. Serious lung infections, skin cancer, blood clots, and low blood cell counts occurred with Opzelura. In people taking JAK inhibitors, serious infections, increased risk of death, lymphoma, other cancers, and major cardiovascular events have occurred. The most common side effects were acne and itching where applied.
Repigmentation is possible. Ask your dermatologist today about starting or refilling Opzelura. Pursue it.
Any slow zipper knows you'll enjoy your drink from McDonald's longer than anyone else.
Savor every sip of your favorite any-size soft drink for just $1.29. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
She's the apple of his eye.
Ta-da! What do you think?
You look beautiful. And you're grounded.
She may be a tomboy.
You're so lucky you get to be in Junior G.I. Joes. And you're lucky I don't want to get blood on my uniform.
But she's still Daddy's little girl.
Sit down, I want to talk to you for a minute.
This isn't a sex talk, is it? Because I already know more than I'd like to.
Learn all about Eve.
Am I supposed to understand what you mean by that?
On Last Man Standing.
Weekdays at 3 on Fox 22.
Welcome back, everyone. The cleanup effort continues from Monday morning's massive spill of firefighter foam at a hangar at the Brunswick Executive Airport. Brad Rogers has the latest.
Well, since Monday, crews have been out here every day pumping firefighter foam and PFAS-contaminated water out of the drainage system surrounding the hangar here, as well as a nearby pond. When people who work at Brunswick Landing learned of the spill Monday morning, they thought it was contained to Hangar 4 in the immediate area.
But we looked out the back window and we got in around 8:30, and it was, 4 to 8 feet of foam all around the perimeter of the pond. Steve Walker, head of the Brunswick Topsom Land Trust, took these images of the firefighter foam over nearby Picnic Pond. And then as the wind kicked up, a lot of it just went airborne, and it looked like after the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man blew up on Ghostbusters. Officials this afternoon told us a malfunction led to the spill of 1,450 gallons of firefighting foam containing PFAS that was mixed with 50,000 gallons of water. So far, they've collected about 6,000 gallons of foam and foam mixed with water.
There is not an easy solution to removing it from the environment.
We're doing our best to make sure that that foam isn't out there, people coming in contact with it. We're going to continue to operate until we feel satisfied that that's been taken care of.
The EPA says studies show exposure to PFAS can be harmful for pregnant women and their babies, lower your immune system, and damage your kidneys, liver, and prostate.
Your risk from exposure from this foam release is potentially much smaller than it is from exposures to other everyday products that you might come in contact with.
We also learned the Navy was set to remove all the firefighting foam from Hangar 4 in about 4 weeks.
Yes, the Navy had a plan. They were going to be removing that foam on September 16th from that hangar.
Unfortunately, the material of fire retardant wasn't taken out of Hangar 4. Now we're dealing with that fall.
We're told the fire suppression system was tested about a year ago. No word yet on what may have caused this malfunction. Maine DEP has taken numerous samples from all around this area. Those expedited tests are expected in on Friday, when we will learn more about the level of contamination from this spill.
A research facility in Maine will receive millions of dollars for algae research. It was announced yesterday that the Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Sciences will receive $7 million to improve the Maine algal research infrastructure and accelerator. National Center for Marine Algae Director Mike Lomas says the research will first focus on developments in algae agriculture, aquaculture, and pharmaceutical industries. But there are plans for further expansions into other industries down the road.
This program, in this particular proposal, was motivated by how we can connect the state of Maine's innovation economy action plan with blue economy development efforts that we have been doing in other entities within the state.
For the research, Bigelow Laboratory will be partnering with other marine research facilities and Maine research facilities, including Mount Desert Island Biological Laboratory, University of New England, Colby College, and Maine Center for Entrepreneurs. All right, the time now is 8:17. After the break, after more than a dozen cats have gone missing without a trace in the last 2 months, residents of one neighborhood in Bangor are searching for answers.
We'll have the latest on that story as Good Morning Maine continues.
A Marine, a vet. Our Congressman Jared Golden is getting things done for Maine. Golden worked to build a new hospital for vets struggling with mental health and substance abuse, brought Democrats and Republicans together to protect our lobstermen and jobs. And Golden is fighting to ensure that America remains the world's energy leader. Jared Golden is delivering. Call Congressman Jared Golden and tell him to keep getting it done for Maine.
Being a parent is very hard. I wake up in the morning and my feet hit the floor and I'm like, oh God.
You gotta do it when you don't want to do it.
When you have to drive a kid to school when you are sick.
And be a good mom and say all the right things and kiss the boo-boos and make the dinner, and behind that sometimes you're dealing with a lot.
You can't be the only one always.
There is information and support out there that can help the experience of parenting feel better.
Every parent really needs to feel like they can ask for help when they need to.
Central Maine Barns and Sheds, quality products built right here in Newport with a strong attention to detail. We have an incredible selection of pre-made options and would be more than happy to custom build a unit specifically for you. Central Maine Barns and Sheds has financing options available, including a rent-to-own program. We provide free delivery and setup within a 30-mile radius of any of our locations. Check out our full inventory at centralmainbarns.com or call for more information, 368-6177.
Summer won't last forever, but during Toyota's national sales event, you can make memories that will.
Come on.
There you go.
Whoa.
Where's my mom? Just be in the moment.
You could get low 4.99 for 60 on an all-wheel drive RAV4 hybrid or gas model, which could save you up to $1,400. Plus, get 2 years no-cost maintenance. Toyota, let's go places.
In the span of 2 months, over a dozen cats have gone missing from one neighborhood in Bangor. No traces of the animals have been found, and residents are looking for answers.
Well, according to resident Jennifer Delano, around 15 to 16 cats have gone missing in the Fairmount area over the last 8 weeks. According to the Bangor Humane Society, they have not received any cats from that area. Bangor Animal Control Officer Tricia Brune says the numbers in this neighborhood are really unusually high. She is still unclear at this time whether the cats are missing because of wildlife predation or if other factors are involved, but says the cats are not being hit by vehicles. Officer Brune recommends reaching out to the Bangor Animal Control Office for those who'd like to make a report on the situation, and they are trying to still figure out why all those cats are missing in that one Bangor neighborhood. A lot of theories too. Not all of them are good.
I mean, it's bizarre. It's strange.
Yeah.
And it's just the type of thing, the only thing you can do is keep your cats indoors in the meantime.
Yeah.
All right, the time now is 8:20.
Let's get a full look at our weather forecast.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Happy Thursday. Here's what we got. We got some fog across parts of Waterville to Augusta and Rockland this morning. Also along Bar Harbor and also in the parts of Washington County. We will get this fog out of here with some sunshine that we will be seeing today, along with on and off clouds, with more clouds during the afternoon period, along with a few showers and thunderstorms. Let's check out the wave heights right now at around 2 to 4 feet according to the buoys. No advisories in effect offshore or on land for that matter either. So we're looking pretty good for the time being with the wave heights where they should be, and if not a little bit lower. But otherwise, we got some showers and even a few thunderstorms on land this morning with this area low pressure here that continues to rotate slowly but surely off towards the north and east. So with low pressure on land, that's why the wave heights are finally calming down, as Ernesto was the reason for the active surf for a while, but now thankfully that's pretty much a distant memory. But here's the area low pressure here giving us with showers and storms, and we'll be watching for more showers and storms in our backyard today, especially as we'll get the peak daytime heating going. But finally tomorrow we'll get this thing out of here and things will begin to improve. So futurecast, we get the fog out of here, some clouds and showers along with some storms possible throughout the afternoon period today. Earlier this evening, some showers possible, becoming partly cloudy with areas of dense fog overnight. For your Friday, some clouds, but otherwise a nice day finally. And then by Friday night, looking rather clear under a mostly clear sky. And then once we head towards your Saturday, looking like a nice day as we start things off there. As for the rainfall for today, maybe some spots in the northern parts of the state could see a couple tenths of an inch of rain before we're all finished up, with lower amounts expected further down to the south. They will be rather localized at best. But either way, though, we will have some winds on and off too that could reach up to around 15, maybe 20 miles per hour at times today. Those winds will back off later on tonight, and maybe a few gusts tomorrow on and off that could reach up to around 15 miles per hour at times. Otherwise, our average high temperature is now at 79 degrees. We'll be below that today and tomorrow in the lower to middle 70s. Then we're back in the low 80s Saturday and Sunday. 70s return Monday, Tuesday, and also into your Wednesday. Forecast coming up for today, partly cloudy with a few thunderstorms possible. Highs in the low 70s and a south wind gusting up to around 20 miles per hour at times. Later on tonight, lower 50s, some showers possible early. Clouds and fog also possible overnight with a light and variable wind. Moving ahead towards tomorrow, partly cloudy with highs in the mid-70s. The northwest wind picking up to around 5 to 10 miles per hour at times, so a nice improvement in the wind as well. Now let's check out your extended forecast here. Partly cloudy Saturday with highs in the low 80s. We'll have a chance for showers and thunderstorms Sunday with highs in the low 80s. We'll then be in the mid-70s Monday with another chance for showers and thunderstorms.
I'm Jared Golden, and it's a privilege to represent you. Whether in the Marines or in Congress, being able to serve my fellow Mainers is reward enough. Unfortunately, some here try to profit off this privilege by trading on insider information in the stock market. That's why I'm working with Republicans and Democrats to ban members of Congress from trading individual stocks. I'm Jared Golden, and I approve this message because Congress shouldn't be about getting rich. It should only be about serving you.
Taking the time to savor Thomas's crunchy yet soft bagels.
Thanks, Tom.
It's Tom, actually. Right, Tom. Tom.
Tom.
You doing that on purpose?
Tam.
Tam. How have we got to Tam? Huzzah! A toast to breakfast.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home, chances are you have a lot of questions. Norm Prouty has answers. Learn some tips and tricks and explore some beautiful new homes on the market. The Norm Prouty and Donnell Baker Real Estate Show, Sunday mornings at 8:30 on Fox 22.
Back by popular demand, the Lucerne Inn in Dedham presents its amazing Sunday brunch.
Join us every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for a culinary experience like no other. Indulge in an exquisite selection of dishes, all while enjoying breathtaking views. Seating is limited, so reservations are recommended, but walk-ins are always welcome. The Lucerne Inn Sunday Brunch, where great food meets a spectacular view. Call today to reserve your spot.
Donald Trump may soon have a new high-profile supporter. Sources say RFK Jr. may exit the race and throw his support behind Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Trump was on the attack at his first outdoor rally since surviving an attempt on his life, now surrounded by an extra layer of security. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has more.
This morning, Donald Trump holding his first outdoor event since the attempt on his life in Pennsylvania.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Former president speaking to supporters from behind bulletproof glass, surrounded by counter snipers, as he discussed national security. Trump also carped about former President Obama after he delivered a takedown at the DNC.
He was taking shots at your president, and so was Michelle. I try and be nice to people, you know, but it's a little tough when they get personal.
Trump has spent more than a decade attacking Obama, including falsely questioning whether he was born in the United States. And Trump could soon have a new supporter. Multiple sources tell ABC News that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. plans to abandon his presidential campaign and endorse Trump as early as this week. But that endorsement would come with a price. Insiders say he would require a position in a Trump administration, a move Donald Trump Jr. seemed open to.
I love the idea. I love the idea of, giving him, some sort of role in some sort of, major three-letter entity or whatever it may be, and let him blow it up.
Kennedy reached out to both campaigns with the same offer.
But we know that RFK reached out to try to get a meeting with Harris. He wanted to talk to her about getting a place in her cabinet in exchange for his endorsement, and we know that went nowhere.
But polls show Trump would not benefit from all Kennedy voters.
It's interesting, Kamala Harris actually gets more Kennedy voters than Donald Trump does, but the biggest number overall is actually someone else entirely.
Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
It was a night of music, celebrity, and politics on day 3 of the Democratic National Convention. Vice presidential nominee Tim Walz taking center stage. ABC's Jacqueline Lee reports from Chicago.
Day 3 of the Democratic National Convention was packed with star power. John Legend, Stevie Wonder, and Oprah Winfrey lighting up the United Center. Former President Bill Clinton thanking Joe Biden for his service and willingness to give up political power, while slamming Trump over his age and temperament. Oprah Winfrey also welcomed by a thunderous applause, taking aim at Trump's running mate J.D. Vance's viral interview on women without children.
When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady, we try to get that cat out too.
But for Democrats, the real star of the night was vice presidential nominee Tim Walz, who received a call from Kamala Harris ahead of his speech. Walz embracing his roles as a public school teacher, Midwestern neighbor, and his most important role, dad.
It took Gwen and I years, but we had access to fertility treatments. And when our daughter was born, we named her Hope. Hope, Gus, and Gwen, you are my entire world, and I love you.
One of the most touching moments of the night, Walz's son Gus, who has a nonverbal learning disorder, crying while appearing to say, "That's my dad." Walz also ripping into former President Trump, warning Harris's opponents are a threat to democracy.
It's an agenda that serves nobody except the richest and the most extreme amongst us. And it's an agenda that does nothing for our neighbors in need. Is it weird? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's also wrong.
Walz wrapped up his speech comparing the election to a football game, saying we're in the fourth quarter and Kamala Harris is ready to win and serve. Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Chicago.
Well, a crowd of over 2,000 pro-Palestinian protesters marched once again in Chicago. The largely peaceful demonstration came a day after violent clashes between police and protesters, which led to 56 arrests outside of the Israeli consulate. The crowd hoping to make their voices heard, while Democratic leaders and delegates were all in town for the Democratic National Convention. Organizers of Wednesday's demonstration drew on the Chicago area's Palestinian community, one of the largest in the country, by bringing buses from suburban mosques to the area.
Coming up on the second half of the newscast, a metal detectorist in Belfast is looking for new places to search for treasure, and one of those places could be your backyard.
We'll also meet our pet of the week as Good Morning Maine continues.
Tell the insurance company you mean business. Call Joe Bornstein, right now.
Call the firm that has been getting justice for Mainers for 50 years. If you've been injured in an accident, call Joe.
Whoa, is this your new Nissan Rogue?
Yeah, crazy story. Yesterday, I was at the Nissan end of summer sales event taking a test drive, and Laura says,
We've got somewhere to be.
and off we went. We're having a blast. And she tells me it's recommended by Consumer Reports.
These Rogues are going fast.
I knew I had to have that Rogue.
Get a low $279 per month lease on Rogue, or get up to $2,500 total savings on remaining select 2024 Rogue Platinum trims.
I was hurt in a bad motorcycle accident, and I was laid up for a couple months.
If you've been injured in a motorcycle accident, call Joe today for a free case evaluation.
I'm really grateful they won my case for me.
Dial 207-CALL-JOE or online at joebornstein.com.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Thursday, August 22nd, 2024. Not only is it National Tooth Fairy Day and National Burger Day, it's also Be an Angel Day.
So if you don't want to be an angel, you can go have a burger.
Have a burger.
You know, maybe see how you feel after that.
Yeah.
This special holiday pushes us to become someone's angel of sorts, whether it's a grand gesture like helping a neighbor make repairs around the home, or something simple like holding the door for someone. A good gesture goes a long way towards sending goodwill out into the world. This holiday was created by Reverend Jane Howard Feldman, who started it 27 years ago to encourage people to commit small acts of kindness. And I think those small acts of kindness really make up a whole community. I think a lot of people struggle because they don't feel connected in their community. They don't feel like they have a community, but it does start with you.
Yeah, got to get out there and put some positivity into the world. Maybe go volunteer for someone. Maybe
Right.
not today, but think about it and go volunteer for an organization.
That worked for me. I was
Yeah.
feeling disconnected and I volunteered and I made some friends. I just was able to feel more connected and it really helped me.
Yeah, it will help others, but at the same time, you'll help yourself.
Yes.
Feel like you're feeling a fuller life.
That's
too.
oftentimes how it goes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, time for history. It was on this day back in 1775, the American colonies were proclaimed to be in a state of open rebellion by Britain's King George III, a situation that would soon lead to the Declaration of Independence and the American Revolution. That revolt really got out of hand for the king there. In 1851, the schooner America outraced the Aurora off the coast of England to win a trophy that has become known as the America's Cup. In 1902, during his tour of New England, President Theodore Roosevelt became the very first president to ride in an automobile. It took place in Hartford, Connecticut. Can you imagine if nobody has ridden in an automobile before and you're the first one to do it? That'd be kind of a cool thing.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I wonder if on that same trip he came up to Bangor, because around that same time he did stay in the Bangor House, which was a very popular hotel. At the time, Bangor itself was very popular. Now it is housing,
Yeah.
but it's cool to think about.
It used to be the biggest hotel north of Boston,
Right.
and known for its, elaborate fixtures and that kind
Right.
of thing.
Bangor was up and
Yeah,
coming.
Amelia Earhart stayed there too.
Yeah.
All right, in 1941, Nazi troops reached the outskirts of Leningrad during World War II, and that siege became one of the longest and most destructive in history and ended when the Nazis were eventually chased away from Russia.
In 1951, more than 75,000 people watched the Harlem Globetrotters perform. It was the largest crowd to ever see a basketball game. They come to Bangor from time to time. I've always wanted to go watch. In 1973, Henry Kissinger was named Secretary of State by President Richard Nixon. Kissinger went on to win the Nobel Prize in the same year. In 1989, Nolan Ryan became the first major league pitcher to strike out 5,000 batters. And in 2004, two famous paintings were stolen at gunpoint from the Munch Museum in Oslo, Norway. The Scream and Madonna were both later recovered, and the perpetrators were found guilty of their crimes. Authorities believe the crooks stole the paintings not for money, but rather to distract police from another investigation into the murder of a local police officer. Kind of sounds like a Patricia Highsmith or an Agatha Christie book.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting how they all got them back, too. It's a neat Google search if you're interested.
Yeah.
Today's birthdays include British pop star Dua Lipa, who is 29 today. Comedian and actress Kristen Wiig is 51. And actor Ty Burrell from Modern Family is 57 years old today. Some very talented and funny people on today's list today.
I know. I like them all individually.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, moving right along now. It looks like today's getting nicer versus the past few days we had, although it was kind of nice in Bangor yesterday.
Yesterday afternoon turned out to be great. We saw plenty of sunshine mixed in with some clouds, maybe a few sprinkles here and there.
Yeah, summer weather's back.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Here's Devin Biggs with the forecast.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Happy Thursday. We have some fog that's developing out there in a few areas this morning from near parts of Waterville to Augusta, also in the parts of Rockland this morning. Same with Bar Harbor, and even in the parts of Washington County, reduced visibilities this morning. We'll be watching for the fog to clear up today as we will get some sunshine going before clouds and a few thunderstorms greet us during the afternoon period. So far this morning, we've had some clouds greeting us, some showers, even a rumble of thunder at times too across the northern parts of the state, so we've been watching for some of that. We'll catch a break for a good part of today, but later this afternoon, we're watching out for more showers and thunderstorms that will be developing as this area low pressure here slowly but surely tracks off towards the north and east. We'll start to get it out of here later on tonight, and then tomorrow, finally it's starting to look drier. Futurecast moving forward, a few showers and storms possible this afternoon, and showers early this evening, but low pressure finally moves out of here, and Friday looking like a dry day finally, right? But otherwise, the winds, well, they'll pick up a little bit today. Sustained winds at around 5 to 10 miles per hour, some higher gusts up to 20 miles per hour will also be possible today. So moving forward, though, again for today, lower 70s, partly cloudy with a few thunderstorms and a south wind at around 20 miles per hour. Later on tonight, some showers early, then clouds and fog possible overnight with lows in the lower 50s and a light and variable wind. As we move ahead towards tomorrow, middle 70s, partly cloudy, and the northwest breeze backing off to around 5 to 10 miles per hour. The hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing a partly cloudy sky for a while, then afternoon showers and storms possible with temperatures in the 70s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up.
Looks pretty nice.
Yeah, thank you, Devin. A Belfast woman wants to know if she can look for buried treasure in your backyard.
Our David Ledford joined her on an expedition yesterday and brings us her story.
This sounds good. That sounds really good.
Emily Cooper has a passion for digging up the past. Armed with a metal detector, a shovel, and a belt bag, she spends her days searching Belfast for rare finds buried just inches below the Earth's surface.
So I turn it on, and then I start swinging it. Sometimes I have a hunch about what it is before I do dig it. Oh, there's something. And then sometimes I don't. So I just dig it anyways.
In her 10 years as a detectorist, she's built up a historic collection.
Victorian, 18th, 19th century things, bells, buttons. I found a lot of like tools and parts. It's so much bigger than me, having a piece of tangible history to hold in my hand.
And while she keeps most of her finds, she also likes to give back to the community when she can.
I give it to landowners if they want to keep it, if they like history as much as me. If it's something historical and I feel like the Historical Society wants to see it, I'll show them.
Right now, Cooper says she's looking for more places to dig, and for anyone interested in taking part in their own treasure hunt, she's more than happy to teach you a thing or two.
I hope that more people get involved in it, and I'm always willing to teach. I'm more than willing to share my finds with my community and the people that let me dig, and those people I feel like are the real treasures.
In Belfast, David Ledford, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, if you want to find out what's buried in your backyard or you want to try your hand at treasure hunting, visit our website for a link to Cooper's professional social media account. Of course, that's foxbangor.com. That's definitely a win-win. You find some cool stuff in your backyard. She gets to do her hobby. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Maine is so historic, too. There's so many places where there were old settlements and that sort of thing, never been explored.
Yeah.
Maybe your yard is one of those places.
Cool.
You never know what you're going to find buried out there.
Love it. I bet she'll be busy. All right after the break, Tyler Cruz will have our sports updates.
And we'll also meet a nice little kitty on this week's Pet of the Week. It's in there somewhere.
You can't really see it.
It's a black cat.
Yeah.
We'll meet it when we come back. Don't go away.
This is your reminder to thank the friend who gets McDonald's breakfast for the group while everyone else sleeps in.
Don't sleep on a classic breakfast. Get a sausage McMuffin with egg for $2.50.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
A new deck is a great, affordable way to improve your home or camp. Hammond Lumber Company can help you create the perfect deck for your outdoor space. Visit Hammond's product showroom and explore their extensive range of decking and railing options. Your Hammond sales rep will be happy to help you with your materials and design choices, and Hammond delivers from any of their 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Make this the year you enjoy that new deck you've always wanted. It starts when you bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company.
Welcome to the Orono Arcade, your local, affordable destination. We want to provide you with the best experience we can without costing a small fortune. Our ever-popular 9-hole blacklight mini golf course is a huge attraction. Plus, we have the best arcade video games to choose from, including both modern and retro games. The Orono Arcade is an ideal birthday party destination. You bring the cake, we'll provide the entertainment. Call us today to schedule your birthday party event.
If you have to ask why it's important to start your day early, here's your answer.
Get any size iced coffee in any flavor for just $1.29 during breakfast hours.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
25 words or less.
Oyster. You're so shellfish.
Every weekday
on Fox 22.
Football is right around the corner. Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. We have just 2 weekends remaining without Patriots regular season football, and there is still a quarterback competition going on at Gillette Stadium. The Patriots are gearing up for their final preseason game on Sunday against the Washington Commanders. Gerard Mayo says all of the quarterbacks will see some time in that one, and he says by early next week, the team will know who their Week 1 starter is. Right now, it is still up in the air. Drake May saw some time with the top offense earlier on Wednesday, but it sounds like right now, Jacoby Brissett is still the QB1 on the Pats depth chart.
I think I'm just going to take advantage of my opportunities. I think Jacoby's done a great job. He's a great player, a great teammate. He's been repping with the ones the whole time, so excited for him and just trying to take every advantage of take advantage of the reps I do get, and when I'm in there, try to have some fun.
It's still a competition, and Jacoby is still QB1. It's a competition amongst all the guys on the field, including the quarterback spot. So, hopefully that kind of makes sense to you guys, but he's still QB1.
Staying with some football now, it was announced on Tuesday that Maine football had named their QB1 ahead of next week's season opener. Graduate transfer Carter Peavy winning the starting job over fellow QBs Anthony Harris and Caden Drezick. Peavy transferred from Mercer to Maine this January, and he has been working with the team since spring. Head coach Jordan Stevens says it is now his job to lose, and the dual-threat quarterback says it feels good to step into such a critical role.
You put a lot of time and work into this, so it's good to see your work pay off. Obviously, when you're named starting quarterback, you got to step into more of a even stronger leadership role.
Carter has shown tremendous growth just since the spring, and coming in and learning the offense and executing on the field and showing improved accuracy and. Just he's gained confidence, and we've seen that. And, his ability with his legs and his arm, we feel like puts us in a position to win.
The Black Bears open the season next Friday against Colgate, and now that the quarterback has been named, the #1 priority is getting on the same page as the rest of the offense ahead of game day. And Peavy knows the real work has only just begun.
Yeah, it was great to hear that I was a starter, but then that lasted about 5 minutes, and then after that, it just set in of, okay, I've got to do everything I can now to prepare for Colgate and the rest of the year.
At the end of the day, I think a receiver, all in all, is supposed to be a quarterback's best friend. I mean, you see the coverage, you know what the quarterback's thinking, you know where the ball should go, where you expect the ball to be from that quarterback, and then vice versa. The quarterback should know how you run your routes, where you're going to be, and at the end of the day, like anticipating where you're going to be so he can give you a good ball.
Looking forward for that season to start. Let's go to the Diamond now. The Red Sox in a getaway day on Wednesday, trying to take a series victory against the Houston Astros. Justin Verlander returning to the mound off the IL for the decisive Game 3. Top one, no score, 1 on for the Red Sox. Tristan Casas hits a line drive off Verlander. That drops in. Jarren Duran slides in front of the tag. Red Sox lead 1-0. Bottom of the first, same score. Alex Bregman sends this Cooper Criswell pitch deep and gone for the solo homer, his 20th of the year. We're tied at 1. Second inning, same score. 1 on for the Sox. Ceddanne Rafaela hits the Verlander pitch deep and off the wall and left. Connor Wong scores. Verlander allowed 2 runs through 5 innings. Sox lead 2-1, 7th inning. Still lead 2-1 with 1 on. Ceddanne hits this pitch off the corner in left off Taylor Scott. Masataka Yoshida scores. Red Sox lead 3-1. Bottom 7, same score. Bases loaded, but Brennan Bernardino strikes out Yordan Alvarez. Sox win 4-1. All right, moving on now. One of the best short track races in the nation will go green this Sunday night with the 51st annual Oxford 250 race at Oxford Plains Speedway. There will be over 60 drivers hoping to qualify, and that field will be trimmed down to 42 by race time Sunday night. Like every year, there will be so many fan favorites hoping to find their way to the winner's circle, including former champs Johnny Clark and Mike Rowe, who both say winning the race takes a lot of skill and also a good amount of luck.
Today you got 25, 26 cars that can win this thing. It's so equal. But you've got to have some luck, start up front, stay out of trouble. Hopefully we can do that.
If I had to pick one thing, it definitely is luck. Because if you have the luck at the end, a restart at the end, everything just needs to fall into place for you to be able to win this thing.
Always a fun event. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
When you want something, you pursue it. And with vitiligo, the pursuit for your pigment is just the same. It's time you found a proven choice to help restore what's yours. Opzelura is the first and only FDA-approved prescription treatment for non-segmental vitiligo, proven to help repigment skin over time, restoring what's yours. It really is possible with a steroid-free cream that you can apply yourself.
Opzelura can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB or hepatitis B or C. Serious lung infections, skin cancer, blood clots, and low blood cell counts occurred with Opzelura. In people taking JAK inhibitors, serious infections, increased risk of death, lymphoma, other cancers, and major cardiovascular events have occurred. The most common side effects were acne and itching where applied.
Repigmentation is possible. Ask your dermatologist today about starting or refilling Opzelura. Pursue it.
I served as a Democrat in the Maine legislature, and I voted for Jared Golden, but I can't do it this year. Jared Golden changed in Washington, and he's given our vote in Congress to Biden and Harris. Now Mainers are getting hurt by inflation and higher taxes. I used to believe in Jared, but he sold us out.
Restoration Pack is responsible for the content of this advertising.
This summer is the perfect time to get away with a great deal on your favorite Hyundai models. All backed by America's best warranty, plus 3 years or 36,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. Add more joy to your journey. Hurry into the Hyundai Getaway sales event. But act fast. The hottest deals of the summer won't last. Get in and get away now. Lease an all-wheel drive Tucson for $229 a month or get 1.99% APR or up to $1,250 bonus cash. Hurry in to the Hyundai Getaway sales.
The Pet of the Week, brought to you by First National Bank. Are you ready to turn your dreams into reality? Look no further than First National Bank.
your genuine Maine community bank.
Got a new friend there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Good Morning Maine. We're here with Catherine Ravenscraft from Bangor Humane Society, and I'm wrangling a kitty. She hides. That's her thing. We've heard this morning. Catherine, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
So who's this?
This is Misfit. And I don't really know where her name came from. She came in as a stray. She hasn't been with us for too long. And we're a little surprised that she's still with us because she's so friendly and she's so snuggly. But like you said, what we've discovered is that she likes to hide in the kennel. We have lovely kennels so that they have room to move around. They have a very private litter box area.
Right.
And that litter box area is nice and dark. Nobody can see in.
Right.
And so sometimes our more shy cats like Misfit like to hide there, and it makes it hard to connect with them. So this is a great opportunity for people to see that she's just an absolute love bug.
You said she's like the favorite among the staff over there,
the staff
too, huh?
loves her. When everyone said, who are you taking this week? And I said Misfit, they all went, oh, yay.
I love the name. I think it's great.
Yeah.
She's just a little
Well, she's not very old. You said only a few years old?
Yeah, she's only about 3, and she came in as a stray, so we don't really know anything about her, whether she, likes other cats or likes dogs. So just slow and gentle introductions, like we always recommend. I did move her from one location in the cat rooms over to where her travel kennel was, and she passed a lot of cats and didn't really seem to react. So yeah, as long as you're giving cats space, if you can close one of them in one room, they can sniff each other under the door and kind of get to know each other.
She does like to hide, though. Look at her. She's hiding under
does.
Emma's
She's
arm.
very
It's also her
shy.
trying to get away. She's trying. I'm trying to be gently like, no.
Oh, look at her hide in the crook of your elbow.
I have a big soft spot for black cats. So
they are so sweet. I don't know how they've gotten the reputation that they have, because they are generally, I mean, there's always an exception to the rule, but everyone that I've interacted with has been just a gem of a cat. So yeah, don't overlook those black cat friends.
Right.
So you have a lot of kitties and dogs over there looking for homes right now?
We do. We still do. Lots of kitties. We still have lots of kittens in foster care. Our kennels are full. Again, dogs, if you can find room in your home for a dog, room in your budget for a dog, we would love for you to please come over and take a look. This is something that's happening nationwide. Kennels are full. And as much as we love them, we just want them to be in a home, on a bed, where they belong.
I saw a couple weeks ago you guys had a great campaign on Instagram. It gave me a chuckle. Dating profiles for dogs. And it said where they're from, what they like, what they don't really like, kind of make or break moments. It cracked me up, and it was also kind of helpful to learn about them.
Exactly.
So I thought that was great.
It's bite-sized. We have a brilliant administrative assistant named Gabby who put that together for us, and she did a great job. But yes,
she's awesome.
It's very easily digestible, and you kind of get the gist in just a few words, which is great.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it looks like you kind of want to go hide in your corner, and we're running out of time, but thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Of course, we'll send it over to Devin Biggs for a look at our full weather forecast.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Happy Thursday. Here's what we got. We got some fog across parts of Waterville to Augusta and Rockland this morning. Also along Bar Harbor and also in the parts of Washington County. We will get this fog out of here with some sunshine that we will be seeing today, along with on and off clouds, with more clouds during the afternoon period, along with a few showers and thunderstorms. Let's check out on the wave heights right now at around 2 to 4 feet, according to the buoys. No advisories in effect offshore or on land for that matter either. So we're looking pretty good for the time being with the wave heights where they should be, and if not a little bit lower. But otherwise, we got some showers and even a few thunderstorms on land this morning with this area low pressure here that continues to rotate slowly but surely off towards the north and east. So with low pressure on land, that's why the wave heights are finally calming down, as Ernesto was the reason for the active surf for a while, but now thankfully that's pretty much a distant memory. But here's the area low pressure here giving us with showers and storms, and we'll be watching for more showers and storms in our backyard today, especially as we'll get the peak daytime heating going. But finally tomorrow we'll get this thing out of here and things will begin to improve. So futurecast, we'll get the fog out of here, some clouds and showers along with some storms possible throughout the afternoon period today. Earlier this evening, some showers possible, becoming partly cloudy with areas of dense fog overnight. For your Friday, some clouds, but otherwise a nice day finally. And then by Friday night, looking rather clear under a mostly clear sky. And then once we head towards your Saturday, looking like a nice day as we start things off there. As for the rainfall for today, maybe some spots in the northern parts of the state could see a couple tenths of an inch of rain before we're all finished up, with lower amounts expected further down to the south. They will be rather localized at best. But either way, though, we will have some winds on and off, too, that could reach up to around 15, maybe 20 miles per hour at times today. Those winds will back off later on tonight, and maybe a few gusts tomorrow on and off that could reach up to around 15 miles per hour at times. Otherwise, our average high temperature is now at 79 degrees. We'll be below that today and tomorrow in the lower to middle 70s. Then we're back in the low 80s Saturday to Sunday. 70s return Monday, Tuesday, and also into your Wednesday. Forecast coming up for today, partly cloudy with a few thunderstorms possible. Highs in the low 70s and a south wind gusting up to around 20 miles per hour at times. Later on tonight, lower 50s, some showers possible early. Clouds and fog also possible overnight with a light and variable wind. Moving ahead towards tomorrow, partly cloudy with highs in the mid 70s. The northwest wind picking up to around 5 to 10 miles per hour at times, so a nice improvement in the wind as well. Now let's check out your extended forecast here. Partly cloudy Saturday with highs in the low 80s. We'll have a chance for showers and thunderstorms Sunday with highs in the low 80s. We'll then be in the mid 70s Monday with another chance for showers and thunderstorms.
Meet Stacy at Sheer Haven in Bangor. Whether you're looking for a total transformation, want to try the newest trend, or just need an expert opinion on hairstyle, Stacy is up for the task. For 15 years with a passion for custom cuts and colors, Stacy makes getting your hair done the perfect experience from start to finish.
Stay connected to stay healthy. Stay connected to stay covered. For all of us who are Maine Care members, changes are happening. Don't go without health insurance. Update your information at mymainconnection.gov by scanning the QR code on your screen. Don't wait. Maine Care reviews will be completed by October 31st. Join over 300,000 Mainers who have already renewed their coverage. Just update your information by scanning the QR code on your screen or visiting mymainconnection.gov.
Another morning to savor the crunchy nooks and cranny splendor of a Thomas's English muffin.
Tom, which is a nook and which is a cranny?
That's a nook, cranny, 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 nook, cranny. I mean, they should be teaching you this in school.
Huzzah! A toast to breakfast. My wife needed neck surgery after a bad accident. We called the Twos, and Lowry and Associates got her $1 million.
Big cases and small, we handle them all. Call us. We win for you.
My daughter's got some different names she calls me, different, like the unemployed middle-aged TikToker is one of her go-tos.
A Maine dad is turning his collection of humorous texts from his teenagers into his first book.
It's always just been to make people laugh, and I think that's a great part of life. And we spend so much time on what divides us that just I think laughing about the silly stuff we have in common is a good thing. And so
we'll talk with Chip Layton Monday on Fox 22 News at 10.
Meet Stacy at Sheer Haven in Bangor. Whether you're looking for a total transformation, want to try the newest trend, or just need an expert opinion on hairstyle, Stacy is up for the task. For 15 years with a passion for custom cuts and colors, Stacy makes getting your hair done the perfect experience from start to finish.
The Cross Insurance Center and the Hollywood Casino have joined forces to launch a diverse series of live shows for the community.
The Hollywood Casino Ballroom Series will feature a wide array of live performances, including music, comedy, magic, paranormal adventures, and more. The sales and marketing director says to visit the Cross Insurance Center's social media pages for more details about tickets and upcoming performances. I just checked out their website. I definitely found some things that I'm personally interested in.
Really? Yeah, sounds kind of neat. Mm-hmm. And finally, some sad news for some people in the Farmington area. Gifford's Ice Cream has announced it's closing the local ice cream stand after 42 years in business. The company says it's due to damage caused by last year's flooding and ongoing issues related to their ice cream factory in Skowhegan. They, of course, had a big fire there. The stand opened in 1982 and was a favorite for locals. The company released a statement saying it explored every possible option, but after many months of deliberation, the Giffords family made the heartbreaking decision to close that stand in Farmington.
Oh, that's sad. I love Giffords.
Yeah, me too.
That's a bummer. Well, the Fields Pond Audubon Center in Holden will be host to a butterfly haven this weekend. If you want to learn more about butterflies and pollinators, or perhaps you're a gardener, this event is for you. From 10 to 2 on Saturday, there will be butterfly-themed activities like monarch tagging, crafts, conservation talks, and even a butterfly parade, which invites you or your kids to dress up like a butterfly, so it's definitely family-friendly. This event also invites gardeners to pre-order native plants, which encourage visitations by pollinators. To learn more, head to mainaudubon.org. A very busy place over at Fields Pond.
Yeah.
I love the events that they put on. It's so cool.
That's a good one, too. We need more pollinators out there.
Very much so.
Yeah.
All right, looks like we're running out of time for today. If you missed anything, you can head to foxbangor.com.
We thank you so much for joining us and hope you have a wonderful day.
Today on 25 West.